The NBA is making it harder to watch games, and Adam Silver is happy about it. Some disgruntled fans say the problem with the league is that there's too many threes or not enough defense, but it's not the games themselves. It's actually just the NBA making it difficult on purpose. The NBA's ratings fell 2% last year, and they've mostly been steadily declining for a while now, but the league is projected to make more money than ever this season while also having another decline in ratings. So how's that possible? But first, I want to tell you about our sponsor, Factor. Factor just introduced its healthiest menu yet, doubling the size to 80 plus rotating meals weekly with double the seafood and protein options and even more Mediterranean meals than ever. I have always needed to be fast and flexible for my schedule when it comes to my eating, and in the past, that would mean sacrificing delicious, affordable food for the quickest option available. But Factor changed that with fresh, never frozen meals that were delivered right to my door. Just makes life way more convenient. Then it's just 2 minutes in the microwave and my meal is ready. Eating clean is easy thanks to Factor, and portion control has also never been easier with meals that are around 350 to 550 calories per serving. Factor takes the guesswork out of eating smart for everyone. Head to factor75.com or click the link below and use the code ALSORUSTYFB50 to get 50% off plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's code ALSORUSTYFB50 at factor75.com to get 50% off plus free breakfast for 1 year. And thank you to Factor for sponsoring this video. This is not because of three-point shooting or no more defense being played, you know, the typical common shit that older NBA fans like to complain about. It's not because people are soft. It's not because everybody plays the same. There is some degree of truth in all of those things, but it's, again, I think massively overblown. The actual reality of the matter is the NBA has become increasingly anti-consumer in its business practices. And to understand what I mean, you really need to look no further than the new viewing guide for this season. Yeah, it's a complete joke, and I gotta rant about it. Despite this dip in viewership, Adam Silver is actually viewing their ratings from last season as a success. Part of that is because towards the start of the year, ratings were down by like 7 or 8%, and it ended up swinging up towards the end of the year. So I get it from like a recouping your losses perspective, but also the NBA is in a position where a slight decline in viewership doesn't hurt their bottom line really in any capacity, which you wouldn't think makes sense. Like, why would that be successful? Why would declining viewership work out for you? Well, the money still looks right. These deals where you're across multiple different streaming platforms have limited accessibility to NBA fans. It's limited accessibility to people who are trying to watch their teams, but it's way more lucrative on average for the league itself. Viewership is down, but the amount of money made per viewer is as high as ever before. Not only is there more ad time now than there has been in the past, but there is also, of course, gambling sponsors, which has heavily inflated the sports market for these leagues on their own, let alone stuff outside of the league. And I also just think that access is a huge, huge problem here that is the reason why the ratings go down. And what I would cite for this is that LeBron has literally been caught using StreamEast because it's so hard to view the product through the actual legal means. Seriously, again, look at this NBA watch guide for this season. Why would it look like this other than money? In 2014, the $24 billion deal with Disney and Turner roughly tripled the league's salary cap, and the CBA at the time was just not ready for it, which is the reason why the 2016 cap spike happened. You can blame Kevin Durant going to the Warriors entirely on the NBA's deal with Disney. This new CBA is designed to prevent league-altering salary jumps over single seasons. It only goes up 10% this year, but it's also supposed to keep jumping 10% every year after that, which is especially significant because last year the NBA agreed to an 11-year, $76 billion deal representing an annual increase in value of 165%. It renewed its partnership with the Walt Disney Company, but also is able to do separate agreements with NBC Universal and Amazon till the end of the 35-36 season. As a result, we will likely be seeing max contracts worth $100+ million a year by the time we reach the year 2033. As consumers, we are simple. We want cheaper stuff, and we especially want convenience. The current approach by the NBA is decidedly inconvenient, and the cost of being a fan is getting higher and higher. For watching local teams, you're going to pretty much always have to sign up for a local broadcasting channel. And lately, those channels have been bought up by like FanDuel and insert gambling brand here, and those games are not accessible by League Pass unless it's audio only, like it's the 1950s, you're listening to a radio broadcast of a game. And it's not even like successful for these local channels to even run their business this way, hence why they keep getting bought out by gambling brands. The NBA app also sucks. League Pass is not worth it for a standard NBA fan. Not only is the price astronomical, but you pay that much just to still get ads all the time, and the app is fucking broken. It's literally crashes all the time, whether it is on my phone, but especially when it's on the TV, you know, where most people are watching games. And you compare this with other streaming services, if you're just a casual NBA fan, like you could really take or leave watching NBA games, are you going to pay more for League Pass than, say, HBO? Or what about the NFL equivalent that, yes, costs a lot more, but at least you know you get to watch all the games. And if there is a blackout, it's on local airwaves for free. The NBA is following a trend that we have seen in a lot of industries, where instead of popularizing their products to the absolute maximum degree, they are instead growing their money by creating power users or super fans. But unlike an industry like gaming, where the games are free to play and then power users spend thousands of dollars on skins and battle passes, the NBA is instead giving the casual fan limited access and then giving them a handful of ways to give up $20 a month if they want more, or cashing in on subscriptions you may already have. Ratings are likely to go down again because of how much harder it's going to be to watch. It even happened with the NFL when they made a similar move. But the money made per person watching is going up so much that the NBA doesn't really need to give a shit. But even if I'm wrong about this, and this is how God intended people to consume the NBA, then maybe you'll say that it's the games themselves that are the problem. When you watched the NBA in the 90s, it was all the same channel reliably, both for your local team and national broadcasts. It was very simple. It was very streamlined, and simplicity matters so much to consumers. We are basic, we like it easy, we like it cheap, and we like things to work. But the NBA is more interested in dividing up their viewer base for the sake of getting paid by the most amount of streaming services. I fear there is going to be broken up sections of the NBA fandom based on what day they get to watch now. Most people are not going to be paying for every single service required. Double headers are also now on the West Coast going to be games starting at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Blackout games just can't be a thing. If you have a local team, you have to sign up for a local broadcaster. It's a broken system, and that was a problem beforehand, but when you add that on top of all the extra shit that they're doing, it's just a mess. I'm very excited about the new shows. I personally am not going to miss Inside the NBA. If you know me and my history with them and my Shaq Hater manifesto and all that, you know how I feel about that particular show. And I'm expecting NBC to do a good job. The Amazon lineup with like Blake Griffin and Dirk or whatever, that seems cool. I think they'll do a good job. But the actual distribution of it all, I am certain is going to hurt their ratings metrics. And subsequently, I'm going to have to hear the same old bullshit about it being about the quality of the on-court product and not about how the consumer receives said product. As consumers, we should not be okay with this. So many people are willing to roll over on this shit, but it is detrimental to casual audiences. The NBA would rather create a 3D viewing experience and have Mr. Beast at the All-Star game than fix their fucking app and make it accessible to everyone for a reasonable price. Ratings were much higher in the 90s because it wasn't divided up into 50 different pieces, not because the quality of the game was just so much better. Our culture of consumption is divided. There are no shows that everyone has seen lately. In an environment that breeds confusion, being the brand that makes it simple, it just has to be the best move. It only makes sense to me. But the reality is, even with the viewership down, the NBA does make more money. But I think that would have to only be to a point. Being anti-consumer can lead to short-term paydays, but it is detrimental to long-term stability. There's also the gambling addicts the NBA is bleeding dry. That's lining their pockets more than ever, but that can only last so long. If the NBA actually wanted to prioritize getting great viewership again, they could make it easier to watch the game. But that doesn't seem to be their priority. Again, LeBron is on Stream East. It's not because Stream East is the best option, it's because it's the easiest one. Because he didn't have to log into a bunch of shit, because he didn't have to deal with an app that's broken. It's actually so broken. And like, it is very bothersome to me that these business practices are so clearly the cause for all of this, but no one wants to look over there. Instead, they want to say, oh, the game sucks now. That's stupid, and it's mostly coming from voices from people who don't even actually watch the damn product. But yeah, that is it. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.